I'm just going to present the notes on rule of law. So the standard here is to define the rule of law and recognize it's important in the American legal system. So what is rule of law? There's a couple concepts that are part of rule of law. So the first one is the idea that no one is above the law, that the law is applied to everyone, that everyone must follow the law, that everyone is held accountable to the law. Doesn't matter whether you're a teacher, a billionaire, or the president of the United States, the laws apply to everyone. And so no one is above the law. Everyone must follow it. The laws apply to everyone. There's a saying here that we are a country of laws, not of men, meaning no man, no person is above the law. So that's kind of the basic definition of rule of law, the idea that the law applies equally to every person in the country. All right. Where did rule of law originate? It really originated with the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta, which introduced limited government and trial by jury, it said that even the king had to follow the law. Before that, the king was above the law. But the idea that rule of law means that everyone must follow the law, even the king states that he will follow and obey the written document. So our rule of law, it originates with the Constitution in this country, but it first originated with Magna Carta. So there's some different parts to rule of law. One is the accountable, the idea that the law applies to everyone. That's what we've been talking about. There's also the idea that the laws that apply to everyone are just, that they are fair, that everyone knows what the laws are, that the laws are written, and that they apply to everyone evenly. So if I break the law, my punishment's not any different than if the president breaks the law, that it is applied equally. Another part of rule of law is transparent government. If something's transparent, you can see through it. So transparent government would be a government where you can see what's going on, so that people are transparent in the process and information is given to everyone. There's no secret deals and hidden information, that the laws are enacted in a public, transparent, fair way. And the last part of due process, that means that justice is delivered timely, ethically, by independent, unbiased people, meaning that everyone is treated fairly. So if you are accused of a crime, of a breaking law, you get fair treatment, things like a lawyer and a trial by jury and fair treatment in the legal process. So those are some core parts of rule of law, that it applies to everyone, that the laws are fair, that government is open and transparent, and that the judicial system is fair. This is just kind of going over what I just said. All right. So these are things. The rule of law protects us from tyranny. It protects us from a dictator. It protects our democracy from not working. If the laws apply to everyone and they're applied equally and fairly, that helps protect our democracy. Tyranny or a dictatorship or an authoritarian figure, that occurs when rule of law is taken away. So it's very important that rule of law is protected. This idea, again, rule of law, that the laws apply equally and fairly to everyone, that everyone is held accountable in our government, that we are open and transparent, and everyone has legal rights. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about are types of law. So that's rule of law. That's a part of our democracy. It's a concept like democracy or voting. But now we're going to talk about specific different types of law. Okay, so there's four that we're going to talk about: criminal law, constitutional law, civil law, and military law. So a civil law is a dispute between two individuals. No law was broken, no crime was committed, but there's a legal dispute that has to be settled with the court system. So maybe it's a divorce attorney, right? Two people are getting divorced. No law was broken, but they need to be able to settle it. Or a car wreck. No law was broken, but damage was done. And so it needs to be settled in the court system. These are what I like to call your Judge Judy cases. If you ever watch Judge Judy, all of those things are civil law. So my dog, broke my neighbor's fence, bit my neighbor, and they're suing me for $2,000 for a new fence and the medical bill. That's a civil law. No law was broken, but it's a dispute between private individuals. Criminal law means that a crime, an illegal act was committed, and that they are going to be punished for that to help protect our life, liberty, and property. So felonies are serious crimes like murder or kidnapping. Misdemeanors are like reckless driving or doing something dangerous. Criminal law are passed to create a safe and orderly society, to protect our property, to protect our life. In criminal law, you are punished usually with some kind of like jail or fine or some kind of community service. But we're punishing people to try and persuade them to not commit crimes. Okay. So the next time is constitutional law. This is always one of the hardest ones. This is what settles disputes about our constitutional rights. So it's not a dispute between two people. It's about, do we have the right to do that? So for example, Brown versus Board of Education is an important constitutional case we'll talk about. They were suing to get rid of segregation in the schools. It was about your right to equal treatment in schools. No crime was committed. There wasn't a private dispute between two individuals. We're trying to see, do people have the right to go to unsegregated schools? Or a freedom of speech case like Tinker versus Des Moines. Do students have the right to peaceful, non-disruptive protest in school? It's talking about your constitutional rights. So if it's a case about freedom of speech or your right to bear arms or about your due process or equal treatment, and it goes to the Supreme Court, those types of things are constitutional law. So the last one is military law. The military does not, they have their own separate code of justice. You see right here, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. They have their own set of laws. They have their own police, military police. They have their own court system that tries people. So maybe an officer commits a crime. That would be a military law because they were committing a crime and they could be court-martialed. So those are the 4 types of laws. Again, I was going to go over the review. Here, let me go back. Go back a slide. So just to review those types of law again. Go back there. Boom. So again, rule of law is this concept of democracy that the law applies equally and fairly to all individuals. But types of law, criminal law is a crime was committed, like violent, robbery. Civil law is just a dispute between two people, usually over money, like a divorce or a car wreck. Military is the own set of law for military offers. And then constitutional law has to do with your constitutional rights. All right, so you need to be able to identify examples of those types of law. All right, guys, that is it. And we're going to take notes on this in class, and this video is kind of for reference purposes. All right.